Hi guys, this is part 4 of how to play Noble Knights. In this episode we're going to review how to go second with this deck and how to board break with just engine cards. I'm going to show you your main goals when you go second, what you have to do, what you're trying to do, and hopefully you can learn something new out of this. And to achieve that I set up like one of the most powerful Emancipator boards. Obviously I could have set like this guy, the Destruction Sword, like this rabbit, but I chose not to because this guy with 4 interruptions is pretty much game for any deck. Like even if you play Altergeists, you're going to lose your normal summon, you're going to lose your searches, and you're going to lose spells, like and even traps in my own turn. So you're pretty much done for. No matter what the deck is, you need very specific combinations of cards like Dark Ruler no more, and then something to take off of the Destruction Sword. So that's completely unrealistic. If this board happens to you with the Destruction Sword, it's over. So I just set it up with 4 interruptions. First I start the game with a copy of Unexpected Die to special summon Noble Knight Arthoricus from my deck to my side of the field, and then try to go into the battle phase. That will obviously trigger IP Masquerena because if not, we can either run over this guy or IP. So our opponent is obviously not going to allow us to do that. So he's going to play like Unicorn to trigger the Block Dragon and then return to the game. Guys, I tried to make this game as realistic as possible from both sides because your opponent is not always going to know the exact contents in your hand. In this case, I already knew the contents in my opponent's hand because he searched them with Block Dragon. He knew nothing about my hand. So that's obviously in a real game going to cost plays, or it's going to force misplays on your opponent's part, especially if they are playing against a deck they are not familiar with. They might be familiar with the 40 card version, but the 60 card version, which uses the full support of the Noble Knights, is something most people don't know how to deal with. So I'm going to show you. In this case I normal summon Tristan and play Glory of the Noble Knights targeting Tristan. Most normal people is not going to waste either of these guys on this card because it knows this card searches for extenders they can negate with this, or they can allow you to use those extenders and then they can negate the summon of those extenders. Why? Because pretty much no normal human being plays Destiny right now. Like the 40 card versions are pretty much using this just to search Durandal. And if they are expecting that, then Durandal is going to pass to Tristan and they are going to be able to negate, and then Tristan is going to die and then we're going to be super down. So guys, they're not going to negate Glory. So Glory passes, then we use Tristan, then they are going to be forced to destroy the Guardian, and then Tristan is going to be protected by Destiny. So then we're going to special summon like Castellan, and then we are going to try to special summon Olivia. He's going to negate obviously with the Herald of Arclight, and then he still has one negation though. So what we're going to do here is put Durandal, and it doesn't matter which. He's not going to negate, but because if he negates Durandal at this point, he's going to eat a full combo because we're going to go for Isolde and then we're going to clear the board anyway. So Durandal is going to pass through. We're going to go for Stoffel, we're going to special summon Stoffel, and then we're going for Castellan. Then, and at this step, our opponent is screwed because we're going to try to bounce like this guy and I don't know, this guy, and then he's going to negate, right? So our opponent is going to negate, and then we're just going to go to the battle phase, attack, summon rank 5 X's, attack, and then finally clear the board. Then we're going to banish Stoffel, and then we're just going to full combo them. This is why these cards are important, the Xyz cards, because they help board break, they give versatility to your extra deck. Like the Synchro version would have lost against, the Synchro version, meaning the OCG 40 card version, would have lost against this field. Because their ceiling is lower, they play their extenders in the extra deck and not in the main deck, and that's a fatal flaw of a deck. You need to be able to special summon extenders from either your main deck or your extra deck, both, because if your theoretical ceiling is low from your main deck, then stopping your main deck plays or your first main deck play is going to floodgate the rest of the extenders in your extra deck. That's precisely why I don't like the Ignite builds that go for these flashy discard 5 combos, because they don't have a going second plan. Like, they would have played like the 2 Ignites and then they would have wasted Herald or to negate that, or they would have negated Gearfried Summon, etc. Like, the only thing they have to do is stop the Paladin and stop the Gearfried. They don't need to do anything else. So they're pretty much done. That's why you shouldn't play those decks without hand traps, OCG version and Ignite version. And then it's pretty much full combo from this point on, right? I'm going to show you now another replay, this time against a control deck, which is Altergeist, with the new changes to the list. And then we're going to set up one of the most powerful Altergeist boards going first. Again, keep in mind that our opponent doesn't know the full contents in our hand. If they somehow were psychics or something and knew that we had a Stolfo in hand, they could have played the game a bit differently and punished us and won the game. But they don't. They sometimes have to take risks. I'm going to explain you my reasoning behind this, and hopefully you can learn something. So I draw for my turn, then he's going to set up his full field, right? And then he's going to play. Keep in mind this, like hindsight 2020, yes, you can check both hands and see what you have done differently. That's a good exercise for you, but keep in mind that in practice our opponents are going to misplay. Really a lot. Most of our opponents that are going to misplay are usually playing non-top tier decks like Altergeist, so keep that in mind. They are going to they are the ones that are going to misplay the most. So what is going to happen here is that we're going to lead the game with a copy of the Durandal on this bird guy. And why on this bird guy? Because basically he can't bounce anything to block my Durandal, because this guy requires you to bounce other Altergeist card that is not him. So my Durandal is going to it's going to pull through. So then I special summon my Cousin and then try to search. My opponent is likely to play Ash here. Why? Because he has 1 monster negation, 2 monster negations, and a bounce. He's protected against 3 monster based threats. He's not protect about searching and stuff, so obviously he's going to want to diversify his defense. So that's what happens in this scenario, right? So he negates, that's fine. Then we're going to normal summon. I normal summon and trigger Ogia's effect. He could have negated with protocol, not with the strike, but with protocol, and then it would have been worse for him because he has no knowledge that I have a Stolfo in my hand. Because if he negates with protocol, the only thing I would need to do is basically just go for the Gearfried and then force a bounce, and then I would have got the bounce and the solemn strike at the same time. I mean, if he negates Ogier with the protocol, then I would special summon Gearfried and then he can negate. Then I just need to take care of this guy. So it's basically the same scenario, the same outcome. So I'm going to mill Olivier. What I tried to do here was protect my own Ogier from targeting to use Arfidori or target this. But usually when you do this and you tell them this is going to grant you anti-target, they are just going to bounce. If they don't, again it's the same scenario because we have 3 extenders in hand and they have 1 and they only have 1, 2 and 3 defenses. So the only thing we need to do to win is that. Play 1 more monsters than the defenses they have. So what's going to happen here is that I'm going to search like Arfidorio, why? Because I already know this card is manifestations because he said it with the other guy, this guy. So I know this card isn't a threat. So I just go for Arfidorio and target the card I don't know that is not public knowledge. Then I try to summon Gearfried. He's obviously going to negate Gearfried summon because that is going to take me to warriors and full combo. Again, if he knew that I had a Stolfo, he could have saved that for Isolde, but your opponent needs to take decisions on the fly in a short span of time, so they're obviously not going to make the right decisions all of the time. This is why I'm showcasing you this, because if they play perfectly and your deck is competent, it's very hard to lose with just engine cards. Like, no engine is that powerful at the moment to beat that many interruptions. That is why we reverted back to hand traps. It's kind of the same logic as of why that happened. So in this scenario, that happens, and then he just gets punished with stuff. And then I just try to pop this for the flex. It's pretty much irrelevant because this is full combo, as you already know. As you already know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what you try to do. You are going to have to try to bait the interruptions. I mean, we could play this specific scenario is very interesting because if you check my extra deck, I have Exidon, Costenin, and Arthurigus, and all three of them could take care of the full field at some point, or if we play the game in certain ways so they resolve. So what we're basically going to try to do is use our lesser value cards before Isolde, just so Isolde is the last thing that resolves. And remember, because Isolde is full combo, if Isolde resolves, we're going to win. That's pretty much the logic of it. So then it's just basically full combo, and then our opponent's so far behind that it really doesn't matter. We also have a full hand. It's just for the flex. Now for my closing thoughts. What you gotta do is bait up the negations by threatening board wiping. However, the 3 Noble Knight decks do this in different ways. The 40 card OCG version has a very low ceiling with main deck cards, because it plays its extenders in the extra deck. What they try to do to compensate is play hand traps. By that they are lowering opponent's ceiling, trying to keep the pace up if they fail. Like if their combo fails, hopefully their hand traps can stop the opponent and they can try again. I mean, that's a valid approach. It's actually the most common approach in TCG at the moment. I don't like it, but it's perfectly valid. It's super competitive. Then we have the Ignite version, which is super laughable, to be completely honest, guys, because that version is super flow. Like, if it goes first, it plays a bunch of win more combos and win more cards. Like, discarding your opponent's full hand is no different from leaving a Blue Savage, Gearfried, and Sharp. Or it's not even different from leaving like the Sharp, the Gearfried, and the 5 racks. Why? Because in those scenarios you are going to have a full hand, and your opponent is only going to have 3 or 2 cards depending on if you leave the Blue Savage. With those 2 cards, they have to break your board and deal with 6 cards in your hand. Guys, that is simply not going to happen. It's unnecessary to discard the full hand. That's pretty much it. They focus so much on going first and increasing the ceiling with their extra deck cards that they play so many breaks like the Pylon Sphere or the Tatsunoko package that they have no going second plan. If they lose the die roll, they don't play hand traps. What is going to happen is that their opponent is going to full combo them, and then they are literally banking on Gearfried alone to break the board, and that's simply not possible because they are going to take a -1 usually to search for that Gearfried, and then you just have to negate Gearfried's summon. So it's not realistic. The only thing left at that point is negate is all the mill 5 or the 5 racks, and then the game's over. That deck's super ridiculously bad going second. I totally don't recommend it. And then finally, the full version, which is 60 cards, doesn't play hand traps, but plays board breaking cards. The board breaking cards are usually exist: rank 4 Authorgus, rank 5 Authorgus, Exciton Knight, and Costanin. All of these 4 cards help you break the boards. Like in this Altergeist scenario, I could have used like Exciton or Costanin as well. And in the other Emancipator game, I could have used that too. So that's pretty much it. You have actual threats in your extra deck that can give you advantage or millage over your opponent's boards. So that's in theory better than playing hand traps or not playing a going second plan. However, because the combo decks are so powerful now, like it's preferable to play hand traps, but in theory the most common scenario is that breaking with your engine cards is better, but not this format. So those are my closing thoughts. Part 4 is going to be all about side decking, so hopefully do Part 4. Part 5 is going to be all about side decking. I'm going to show you how to side deck with the 40 card OCG version, the 60 card full version, and the Ignite version with either 40 and 60 cards. Guys, see you on the next.